Today we are going to use masking filters to get this amazing evening setting using only the Lightroom app. You will also see tips on how to do minute selections by adding and subtracting the masks. And of course this will apply to the desktop app too. To begin with, this photo was snapped on mobile. After importing this in Lightroom, first I'm going to do some basic adjustments in the light menu. A little increase in shadows and blacks to make the image a little flat. Going to HSL sliders in color menu, moving the green hues towards yellow. And reducing the saturation of the blues. Now to the masking filters. These are the tools available. I'm going to start with linear gradient filters. First one at the bottom. Reducing the exposure to make it more dark. Similarly at the top to make that part darker. To make only the sky dark, I'm going to use Select Sky, which gives a pretty good selection here. I'm going to reduce the exposure again. Also, I don't want to get the middle part dark as I'm going to create a light source there. So for this sky mask, tapping on this plus or minus icon and selecting subtract. Here choosing radial gradient and making a selection here. So this area is basically removed from the sky selection. Now adding a separate radial gradient around the center to create a light source. Making sure the feather is 100. Here I don't want the subject to be included in the selection. So choosing subtract and tapping select subject. This will select the subject automatically and remove it from the main selection. Here I'm gonna increase the exposure. Also adding haze, reducing clarity to reduce all the details possible. Adding temperature to create warm colors. Adding orangish tones. You can see this doesn't affect the subject. Now we'll add one more small radial filter around the middle to create a bright light source. Adding more exposure here. We'll add one more around the middle. This time I'm going to invert the mask and reduce the brightness to get this vignette effect. Now I'm going to use luminance range filter to select the railings to make them brighter. Tuning the intensity of the luminance. Then using subtract to mask out other parts. First linear gradient to remove the top part. Subtracting the subject. Then using the brush filter to manually brush out the selection on the ground. increasing whites to make the railing brighter. Also adding more temperature to make it warmer. Now using the color range filter to try selecting leaves here. Subtracting the subject, trying to pop them a bit by adding contrast and so on. Didn't get the result as intended, not looking too good, but we'll try to correct this later. Moving to other filters now. Now, couple of radial filters to get some brightness back around the left and right sides of the main subject. Subtracting the subject from the mask. Also using linear gradient filter to remove the mask from the background. Using color range again, this time on the red cloth of the subject. Brushing out the mask using the brush filter. Tuning the reds to pop it a bit more. Now selecting the whole subject. Tuning to make him a bit more bright. Also trying to match the light with the surroundings as the light has changed a lot around. We'll add one more radial filter and invert the mask. Making the surroundings a little more dark. Also reducing clarity and texture. Also sharpness. One main thing missing is the shadow of the subject. Trying to create it with a radial filter. Making the part more dark. As the subject is also affected here, we'll remove the effect by subtracting using Select Subject. Also using linear gradient to remove anything darkened in the back of the subject. Fine-tuning by adding more masks. One more radial gradient to add more haze and reduce clarity. Moving out of the filters, doing some color grading in the color menu by adding orangish tones to the highlights and cooler tones to the shadows. tuning overall contrast with the curves. Went back and fine-tuned the filters to make it look better, especially the selections on the ground and the shadows of the subject. And here's the final result. So here's how you can get stunning results with the masking filters using Lightroom. Hope you found these tips useful and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.